YouTube, welcome back to the Brothsyndi MyTeam show. I am your host, Jan Moses. Today's video is a pretty special one for me because I've been wanting to make this video for a while. I feel like I've been teasing the idea of this video to you guys on stream and in my previous YouTube videos, and we're finally bringing it to you guys today. We are going to essentially be making a NBA 2K25 MyTeam retrospective from my own perspective, my own opinion. And I kind of want to do so while also going over the original NBA 2K25 MyTeam courtside report that we got almost exactly 1 year ago. I don't know if it says on here when exactly this came out. Maybe it'll say, oh, I don't even have my Google search up for it anymore. But you guys need to trust me that this came out, I think, mid to late August, and I'm recording this video on Sunday, August 10th. And I'm doing this intentionally. This video will hopefully come out tomorrow. Well, for me tomorrow, for you guys today, which will hopefully be Monday, August 11th. And the reason why I'm dropping this video, this episode of the Brothsyndi MyTeam show on Monday, August 11th, is because this week we should be getting news on NBA 2K26 MyTeam. We should be getting a courtside report either on Wednesday the 13th or Thursday the 14th. And I think we're almost definitely getting a Twitch stream with more information, more of a deep dive into MyTeam. And I'm really curious what they're going to talk about in that video, and I know a lot of people are pretty excited about that stream. And my point in making this video today is not to make you guys less excited. I'm not coming out here to put a damper on your guys' mood if you're excited about buying NBA 2K26 and playing MyTeam. I'm still looking forward to buying NBA 2K26 and playing MyTeam, but my perspective on how to play MyTeam has changed dramatically over the last 2 years because, let's be honest, until 2K gives us any reason to believe otherwise, the MyTeam experience that a lot of us know and love is dead and gone. And what we've had in place over the last 2 years in MyTeam, in NBA 2K24 and NBA 2K25, I think this is the new corporate greed version of MyTeam that they are building on. I think 2K24 was the original building block. They expanded on that in NBA 2K25, bringing back the auction house, which is going to be, I think, the first thing we're going to talk about, because I want to, as we're going through this courtside report, I want to provide my own feedback, I guess you could say, on each topic that they mention. I did take notes, and I rarely ever take comprehensive notes on for my videos. I usually just try to do it in one take and go right off the dome, I guess. But we're gonna try to be somewhat organized. We'll see how that ends up working out for us. This video may end up being a longer one. And also, I wanted to say real quick, we're taking care of all the housekeeping items right off the top here. There will be another edition of the Brothsyndi MyTeam show coming out a little later on this week. I'm hoping that on Thursday evening, which I think is August 14th, I'm hoping to record another episode of the Brothsyndi MyTeam show with Harry as we review everything that was revealed in the courtside report and on the Twitch stream for NBA 2K26 MyTeam. I'm really hoping that we can talk about the return of Clutch Time Online, because if Clutch Time Online is not coming back, I'm going to be a little concerned, maybe more than a little concerned, about what MyTeam is going to look like in NBA 2K26. But regardless, that is for the podcast in a few weeks. Let's focus on today's topic. As always, got to make sure that I am recording, which it looks like I am. Hi, YouTube. It is 9:30 a.m., so I will still be sipping my coffee and stuff like that, so I do apologize for me doing that on camera. Let's dive right into it. And I want to, before we get into the courtside report, just share what my theme was for NBA 2K25. And as we go through this courtside report, we'll see if what my theme ends up lining up with what they told us we were going to get in this courtside report. Spoiler alert, that's not going to be the case. For years, people have said that NBA 2K MyTeam, the game mode itself, since the game first came out, or the game mode first came out, rather, and NBA 2K13 was a pay-to-win game mode, and I think we've definitely seen moments of that happen, a lot in previous NBA 2K My Teams. But this year to me was the first time that it really felt like pay to win was actualized, and that was in large part because of how the reward system worked in this game. Like, the value of your dollar, I think, in this game was as valuable as it was in any other year. Not because you were getting incredible players out of all the packs that you were using your money on, but if you were someone who grinded the game, I don't think you were as rewarded as you have been in previous years, which will actually bring me to my ultimate theme of NBA 2K25, which I will reveal at the end of this video. I just wanted to get that little appetizer out there for you guys. But yeah, basically, if I were to give an elevator pitch to someone, knowing what I know now, if I could go back to August of 2024 with all the knowledge I have of what NBA 2K25 My Team brought to the table, I would basically give them the following elevator pitch. If you're playing My Team this year for rewards, and not because you enjoy playing basketball in a video game, you're going to have a bad time. It is what it is. That's my stance. Okay, here we go. Let's dive into the courtside report from last year. If you guys remember, in previous years, I'm pretty sure the 2K My Team page on Twitter would tweet out a bunch of different, aspects of the new game that were going to be coming out or returning. Last year, we only got one or two tweets, and both were about the auction house coming back. If you guys remembered, if you guys played NBA 2K24 My Team, we had a player market where all the players that were in packs ended up being in the player market at a fixed price with respect to whatever their tier was. Like, for example, Amethyst cards, originally when the game first debuted in September of 2023, Amethyst cards were, I think, 140,000 MT, and it doesn't matter, or it didn't matter, if you were looking at an Amethyst card like, I don't even remember who a good Amethyst card was back then, but let's just say the two that I remember were Jason Williams and Andrew Bogut. Both of those cards were 140,000 MT, and they didn't drop in price until, like, I think 3 to 4 weeks after they had come out, and they were only dropping by like a few percentage points in terms of their base MT value in the player market. So that was kind of annoying. And then obviously All-Star Weekend rolls around. We start getting special inserts, meaning the players that we all wanted, the high-end players that we all wanted, were no longer in the player market. You could only get them out of packs, which was obviously incredibly frustrating for a lot of people, including myself, obviously. So people wanted the auction house back, and so 2K brought it back. People were very, very excited. I think they did a great job with this initial graphic right here. Let me make sure we can see this. Yeah, we can see this. Okay, cool. They bring back this graphic, and you can see right here, all these Series 1 Amethyst cards are going for 2,000, 2,100 MT, which was not the case when the game first came out. These cards didn't become 2,000 for a minute, I feel like. But regardless, they're Series 1 cards. Who cares? It was just nice to see this after having a year where Amethyst on day one, regardless of who they were locked in at what was it, 140,000 MT. I think like Ruby Patrick Ewing was like 75,000 MT, and people were complaining about spending 75K on Ruby, which is totally valid, obviously. But the one thing I want to talk about when it comes to the auction house is this last paragraph right here. And I know a lot of people, when they saw this, were very concerned, and I think those concerns were obviously incredibly valid, because this ended up being the thing that I think killed the auction house. To ensure a level playing field, the returning auction house has a zero tolerance policy on activity detrimental to the health of the game mode. All transactions will go through a verification process to make sure the auction house stays fun and fair for everyone in the community. Again, all transactions go through a verification process. If you don't know what that is, if you guys have heard of the term escrow when people were complaining about the auction house this year, this was them telling us that we were going to have a validation process. Cards would be going into escrow or into review before we were able to access them from the auction house, the outcome section of the auction house. Sorry, my coffee's still not hit me yet. Um, that was obviously a big issue because I think what 2K was trying to make us believe was that they were doing this to counteract MT buyers and sellers, right? The player market was, I think, the best way for 2K to limit MT buyers and sellers, because you literally couldn't buy or sell MT from a third party in NBA 2K24. This year, you technically could, even if it took you a while. You could still be smart about how, you were buying players, or if you were selling MT, how you were posting players to be bought, such that they wouldn't be flagged. So there was, I think, an easy way to work around it. And I'm still not sure if people that were buying MT were getting banned. If they were, how often they were getting banned. I'm not really sure about any of that. But what I do know is I don't think the validation or the escrow process here, this verification process, if you were to ask me what group of people got hurt the most by this, I would make the argument it's not the MT buyers and sellers that got hurt the most. I think the people that got hurt the most by this verification process were the people that like to work the auction house on a promo day, or on a day where we got agendas that led to certain players going up in value in the auction house. For example, let's say on a random Tuesday we got an agenda that required you to have 13 Los Angeles Lakers players in your lineup, and then to use them in a game. Laker players that might be going for like 1,000 or 2,000 MT, maybe even less MT than that, they'd go for like 4,000 to 5,000 MT. We've seen that happen multiple times this year, or this past year, in NBA 2K25 MyTeam. The people that like to work the auction house buy those players for their usual 1,000 to 2,000 MT price, and then flip them for double to try to make 1,500 or so profit per card, which that could add up really quickly. Those people who played the game in that way and sniped and worked the auction house in that way, they were the people that got hurt by this. Because now when you're buying a card off the auction house, you're buying a Lakers card, to go back to my example, for 2,000 MT, and you want to go and post them for 4,000 MT, well, you have to wait maybe 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I feel like the verification process, like the amount of time that your card was held in escrow, was kind of random, and it varied. And I don't really know how their escrow process worked. I don't know if it was all AI based. You can honestly make an argument that the majority of the content that 2K put out this year was developed by AI, and that no one was actually working on the players that we got on Fridays or on Tuesdays, even, for that matter. But regardless, I don't know how the validation or the verification process worked. But all I do know is if you bought a card, you had to wait usually anywhere from like 30 minutes to like 45 minutes to get that card back. And if we once again go back to that analogy I provided you guys, where we're trying to buy Laker players and then flip them for a profit, let's say when you buy that Laker player, it's at like 11:01 a.m. Eastern, and Laker cards are like 4,000 to 5,000 MT. By the time you get access to the cards that you bought, let's say you bought 5 Laker players for, let's say, 3,000 MT, and those cards are going for 5K. Let's say by the time your cards are done being in escrow, it takes 45 minutes, and that means that you have to be on the game the exact second, and you're checking every couple of minutes to see when your cards aren't saying pending anymore in your auction outcomes. You finally redeem those players, you go to post them, and now those players are down from 5K in the auction house at minimum to 4K. Now you lost out on a pretty hefty amount of the profit that you would have made if you were able to just post the cards immediately to the auction house after buying them. And even if you say, okay, well, at least you're still making profit, I think a lot of people who enjoyed playing the game in that way saw that, and I think it immediately like ruined their interest level. It immediately, I think, ruined sniping, working the auction house like that for them, because it's not instant, right? You're not buying a card and posting it up on the auction house immediately. You're buying a card, you're waiting close to an hour, and then you're losing out on profit. So That's two negatives. You're losing out on profit that you should have been making if the auction house didn't have this verification process. And then because the auction house has the verification process, now you're forced to wait around for the cards that you bought just to be reposted. And for me, it kind of ruined the whole experience as well because, when I buy a card and I'm trying to flip it, I'm like anxious that the player prices are going to drop because once you buy the card, the verification process kicks in and it's completely out of your control when you're getting that player back, and you could lose out on enough MT where, I mean, there were a couple of times this year where I bought players as snipes to flip, and by the time they redeemed or they were able to be redeemed from the auction house outcomes, I ended up breaking even after tax. Which again, like, why would I go through that? That's 45 minutes of my life that I just wasted buying a card, waiting for it to be, eligible to be sold again, and then I posted it and I made nothing back, no profit. So yeah, 2K knew what they were doing with this. They, I think, effectively, while they may not have killed, buying and flipping on the auction house, I think this escrow process, this verification process, dramatically hurt our ability to work the auction house like we used to be able to in previous years. I don't know what they're going to do with this in 2K26, but I would not be shocked if it comes back. And I would be really kind of bummed if it did, because again, as long as this is in the game, I think it's going to hurt the people that want to buy and flip cards on the auction house more than it's going to hurt the people who are looking to buy and sell MT. Let's move on to a brand new game mode that came out to NBA 2K25 MyTeam, and that is Triple Threat Park, which, again, just like with the auction house and that verification process, when people saw the Triple Threat Park, I think immediately people were very concerned about something else, which ended up, once again, being true. And that is, with Triple Threat Park coming in, instant matchmaking would no longer be a thing if Triple Threat Online wasn't going to be in the game. And once again, spoiler alert, Triple Threat Online was not in what they're calling new gen, when that's what I call current gen. I'm calling the Xbox, the old Xbox version and the PS4 version, the old gen versions. You could play TTO on old gen, and initially, up until I started playing co-op, co-op in the park for the Sunday win streaks, if I had to get any Triple Threat Online agenda done, I would not do it in the park. I would do it in TTO on old gen because I didn't want to have to wait around 5 to 10 minutes just to play a game, which is really annoying. I feel like it was fun, and I think Park became more fun for a lot of people, myself included, as the year went on. I found it to be a little bit easier to, if you were trying to play co-op, to find players to play with, because you could run around in the park. You could see who the player was that people were bringing with them into the park. So, like, for example, these last few months, I was bringing Invincible Ralph Sampson, and my buddy who I was playing park with for the past couple of months would always bring Ben Simmons. We were able to try to find, if we wanted to play with another big, we'd look for people that had, Yao Ming, Wembanyama, 100 Ilgauskas, players like that. Whereas last year in NBA 2K24, my team, if you played co-op, you were kind of at the mercy of whoever, the game ended up matching you with, if you were only bringing two people and you needed a third. Now, for 2K26, I believe they are bringing in 2v2s into the Triple Threat Park, which I like, and I'm kind of excited for that. But again, we'll talk about that in the Brothsyndi MyTeam Show episode that'll drop later on this week once they reveal everything for NBA 2K26 MyTeam. The Sunday win streaks were also a W for the most part, I feel like, or at least, 50 to 60% of the time. We used to get players. Not all the players were incredible during these Sunday park streaks. But for the festivals, the events, which you will get to a little later on in this video, being able to get whatever the highest tier event collectible was for winning 5 games in a row was really nice, especially earlier on in the year in some of those earlier festivals where you could take the high-end collectible that you got for winning 5 games in a row on a Sunday and turn it into hundreds of thousands of MT. That was a massive W. Yes, it required a lot of patience for you to work your way to, breaking down that event collectible to, make it to a place where you can quick sell everything, but it was still I think, pretty decently profitable, because all you had to do was, you had to win 5 games in a row, which was not, any easy feat. But if you played in co-op like I did, there was not one 5-game park streak on a Sunday that I played in that I did not get done. And I always say I don't think I am close to being comp, or close to being, within, the top 1 or 10% of people who play this game skill wise. So if I can do it, you guys can do it. So we talked about what the park did well, right? Playing co-op was easier for matchmaking, to pick and choose your teammates. And then those Sunday win streaks, I think for the most part, were really good. We're not going to include the season 8 park win streaks. I think those were ass, but I don't really care about season 8. It is what it is. Let's talk about what it did poorly. Again, the big thing is no instant matchmaking. There were so many times where, you would get on for your first game of park and you'd have to wait 10 minutes, sometimes longer. That's crazy. In 10 minutes, I could have played 2 TTO games on any of the previous MyTeams. So having to wait around, no instant matchmaking, a massive L. And as long as Triple Threat Park is in the game and they don't find a way to address the instant matchmaking issue, I think that's going to be the main issue people are going to have. And that issue, once again, it's a valid issue. Like, if we're getting on, if you're someone who, doesn't have all the free time in the world, like whether that's because you're, a college student, or, you're an adult and you have a job, you have a family, you have kids, you have whatever obligations you have. If you're in a place in life where you can't just sit around and play the game for hours and hours and hours and hours every single day, the lack of instant matchmaking is going to really bother you. And I think even if you do have enough time to play this game for hours every single day, just think about how many more games you could play in the park, or just in a 3v3 setting, if you didn't have to wait around to play a game every once in a while for 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes you get lucky, you can boot up into the game, it only takes you 5 minutes to get started. And then once you start playing, if you're winning, if you're lucky, you'll hopefully see someone, or if you're playing co-op, you'll see 3 someones waiting to play against you and your squad immediately, instead of you having to wait around. There were a number of times, more than 2 handfuls, number of times where we would be, playing on a Sunday. We would have 4 wins. We'd be waiting around for our 5th win, and it would take us like 10 minutes or longer to find someone to come and play us, because people would run around on the court and maybe they would see that we're on a 4-game streak and they wouldn't want to play against us. I'm guilty of that. If I load into the park and it's just me playing by myself and I want to play co-op, I am not going to trust 2 randoms who I don't know against a trio that's on a 4-game streak, because I know I'm going to more than likely lose unless the 2 randoms I'm playing with are pretty good players. So yeah, I was on both ends of that issue, and it was really frustrating. So yeah, sorry for the mini rant, but the lack of instant matchmaking, I think, was a massive issue, and will continue to be a massive issue if they don't address it in Triple Threat Park for NBA 2K26 MyTeam. My other big issue that I think is maybe even a bigger issue than the lack of instant matchmaking in the park, the 5-game win streaks, or just in general any of the rewards that you got from playing the park, or playing in the park on Monday through Saturday. So any day that was not Sunday, the rewards were awful. Like, if you were playing park for the rewards, I don't know what you're doing with your time. Like, it just made no sense, until they brought in the ladders. And even then, the ladder rewards weren't great. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in this video. They really didn't give you a reason to go into the park and play every single day. Again, unless you just enjoyed playing 3v3 basketball, if you were playing in the park for the rewards, you're gonna have a really bad time, because the rewards for the majority of the year were awful. I mean, we were getting amethyst and diamond cards for winning 5 games in a row in the park on days that weren't Sunday for like 5, maybe 6 seasons. Like, the first 5 to 6 seasons, we were getting diamond players. I don't think it was until, what was it, season 6 maybe, or season 7, where they upped it from a diamond to a pink diamond in the park for winning 5 games in a row. And at that point, we had dark matters and 100 overalls in the game. So do we really care about getting pink diamond cards for winning 5 games in a row? No, it made no sense. So those are my 2 big issues with the park. Again, the concept of the park is cool, but I feel like they need to do more with the game mode. They need to give us more events that happen on days that are not Sunday. And I would love it if we could find a way to implement a part of the park where you can just have instant matchmaking, like old school legacy triple threat online matchmaking, so that you don't have to wait around for 5 to 10 minutes before you can play your first game in park. Because I mean, look, we don't have time for that. As an adult, I don't have time for that. If I have like 30-40 minutes on a given night to boot up and play 2K, I don't want to spend 33% of my time waiting to play a game. That's just unfair, I think. All right, moving on to exploring triple threat park. We're not going to look at any of this stuff. I don't really care about this. The showcase spot, this was stupid. Yeah, 2 times rep. We'll talk about rep in a little bit. I don't have much to say about rep. Okay, breakout. I'm going to say this right off the bat. This may be a hot topic for some people. Let me see, how long into this video are we right now? We are 25 minutes in. I'm kind of sorry that this video is running so late, but I did warn you guys that this video was going to run pretty long. Breakout. My hot take about Breakout, I think this is the biggest flop of any game mode in MyTeam history. When you consider what they did with this game mode, not just what they did this year, but what bringing Breakout to NBA 2K25 MyTeam meant to the people who play this game offline. And yes, I do still believe the majority of people who play MyTeam, although it may not be the case anymore after this year, but the majority of people that play MyTeam play this game mode offline. You just don't really hear from them because I don't feel like those people really have a presence online except for one person, and that is CB the Grenade. Shout out to him. If you don't know who he is, he's one of the people who spent tens of thousands of dollars on the game this year to basically have every single GOAT card in the game, and he doesn't play online. He has admitted to it, which is totally fine, by the way. People clown him all the time. It's his money. Like, he can do whatever he wants, but he only plays this game offline. I'm not saying all no money spent, I'm not saying all offline grinders spend money like CB the Grenade. I'm sure the majority of them probably don't spend any money on this game. They may not even buy the Pro Pass. But there is something to be said about booting up the game after a long day at school or work or whatever. You have an hour maybe left, and you just want to grind the game offline. In NBA 2K24 MyTeam and in previous years of MyTeam, you could go into a triple threat offline game, a clutch time offline game. You could grind out a few games. You can make some decent MT, and we had mini games. And I should probably find my notes on Breakout before I get way too far into it. But we had triple threat offline and clutch time offline. They were treated as 2 separate game modes with separate ladders, separate reward structures, or whatever. And the point was that we were able to earn, I think, decent rewards, and that was in large part because of the mini games. If you guys don't remember, at least last year in NBA 2K24 MyTeam, we had 4 different mini games that triggered if you won a game in any game mode. So let's say, I've talked about this before in the past. Season 3 of NBA 2K24 MyTeam, we had the ability to grind for Pink Diamond Hakeem Olajuwon by winning, I forget how many games. I think it was like 500 games in Clutch Time Offline, or like 1,000 games in Triple Threat Offline. I ended up doing it in Clutch Time Offline because I prefer 5v5 gameplay, and we had the door minigame after every win. So your 4 options were the door minigame, the ball drop, the vault, and the wheel spin. And I liked the door minigame because it gave you the illusion of choice, right? Like, you would open up the middle door, and if you didn't like your reward, you can go left door or right door. And back then, I was making 1,500 MT or maybe 1,250 MT per win in Breakout. And then there were times where I would get another 1,500 MT from that door minigame, or I would get a promo pack, which if I got a player from it, I could put into the exchange. There were multiple ways to take the rewards that I got for every game that I won and make MT off of it, and it felt really rewarding. What 2K did with Breakout was they combined Triple Threat Offline and Clutch Time Offline, and they put it into a board game where now, it is kind of cool. Like, the concept is pretty neat, right? You need to work your way through the board, and you don't get any rewards until you get to the edges. The issue is, up until you get to the edges, you're not getting any rewards other than the MT that you earn on a per game basis, and the MT rewards per game from winning a game was slashed pretty dramatically. Now, I think everyone else saw that coming, because going from the player market to the auction house, we needed to have more MT in order to be able to afford the players that were in the auction house last year. But this year, because we have an auction house, 2K thought, okay, well, we don't have to give them as much MT, whatever. That's fine. My issue here, the best rewards on a breakout board were on the corners. And in order to access these corners, you needed to earn 15 prize points. So if you played on the easiest difficulty, winning a game would get you 1 prize point. And if you got the one objective that they gave you done, you earned an additional prize point. So the easiest way to get to the corners was to basically play 12 games. So let's say you're going up on the board and down on the board. So this would be game 1, this would be game 2, this would be game 3, game 4, if you come to the right, game 5, game 6, and then you mirror that on the top over here. So this ends up being 6 games downstairs, 6 games upstairs. That's 12 games played. As long as you got 3 of the additional objectives done in those 12 games, that would get you 15 prize points, and you would have access to these prizes on the corners, which, I mean, earlier on in the year, and honestly the entire year, were all awful. You know, you were at best, in season 1, you were at best getting like a Ruby player, or like, a few hundred MT, maybe 1,000 MT if you got lucky. And the Ruby player ended up being a Series 1 card every single time. So you were playing through the entire board to get an unauctionable Series 1 Ruby card that you could quick sell for 800 MT. I just told you 2 minutes ago that in NBA 2K24 MyTeam, I was playing a game of Clutch Time offline and earning 1,500 MT, and then opening up that door minigame and getting a promo pack, getting a another 1,500 MT from that door minigame. Now, obviously, I'm comparing season 3 to season 1, but I think we were getting more than double the MT on a per win basis, which was crazy when you look at what we were getting here. So Breakout comes in, it replaces Clutch Time offline, it replaces Triple Threat offline. So all we had in terms of playing games on an offline basis, if you want to play this game offline, all you had was Breakout, and then they dropped a new Domination every season. And the players that we got from Domination, for the most part, were pretty terrible every single season. It was just beyond frustrating how it feels like Breakout and what they did in general with offline game modes was a personal attack towards the people that play this game either exclusively offline or predominantly offline. If you were someone that grinded this game offline in any way, 2K25 MyTeam was an incredibly frustrating experience for you, more than likely. The Ruby Kyle Korver card, who we got in NBA 2K24 MyTeam, I used them in over 1,000 games last year, and all of those games were Triple Threat offline or Clutch Time offline. I don't think any of my players have nearly that same amount of games played, and if they do, the majority of those games are online and not offline, because I ended up hating Breakout. Like, Breakout, I think, again, I called it the biggest disaster, the biggest flop of any game mode, in my opinion, in NBA 2K MyTeam history. And it's because you take away the game modes that people who love to play this game offline loved to play, and you replaced it with the game mode that was not rewarding, that was confusing, because if you guys remember, we didn't get any rules. We didn't get really any true breakdown of how this game mode worked, what the best ways were to get rewards. I mean, if you guys remember, people like myself, people like Most Ballin, shout out Most, we're trying to put out videos whenever we learned or discovered anything about this game mode, such as how winning 3 games in a row against the same kind of opponents. Like, for example, if you played against 3 opponents that were from the 2000s era, like you see over here, then you would get a warp or a portal in one of the corners that was for the, for the 2000s era, I guess. So you would play against a team, or a board rather, filled with 2000s era teams. If you played 3 Triple Threat or 3 Clutch Time or 3 full game lineup games in a row, you would get another portal with only games with that particular game mode. And then the rewards there would sometimes be slightly better, but not always. Again, RNG rewards everywhere, everywhere. That's going to be something we're going to talk about a little later on in this video. But I just wanted to talk about Breakout for a little bit. Massive issue to me what they did, bringing in this game mode, consolidating clutch time offline and triple threat offline. And then funny enough, last thing I'll say about Breakout, later on in the year we ended up getting, like later on this year, we ended up getting ladders for triple threat offline and clutch time offline. Instead of them giving us one ladder for Breakout, which, you know, where you could play any game mode as long as it's a Breakout game mode or a game that you're playing in the Breakout board, you're going to get points towards your ladder. They instead made it two separate game modes that you have to play in Breakout to earn rewards from the ladder. They gave us like a 400 win or a 500 win clutch time ladder for clutch time offline, and then a 500 or 400 win ladder for triple threat offline. But you still had to play the same game mode to get it done. It made no sense to me. And to the people that could comment and be like, oh well, when you're starting up a new board, you could have easily picked, you know, play a triple threat only board or a clutch time only board. That's fine. I have no issue with that. But my issue is, without us having those mini games after every single win, the game mode itself just was not rewarding at all. And I'm sorry, like, I enjoy playing basketball video games. It's why I keep coming back to play NBA 2K MyTeam every year. It's probably why all of you guys watching this video come back to play NBA 2K MyTeam every year. But you can only play so much of this game without getting rewarded in terms of like you playing in clutch time offline or triple threat offline on a Breakout board. You can only play so many games to where I feel like at some point you need to be like, well, if I'm playing 12 games at most, or at minimum rather, you're playing 12 games at minimum on a Breakout board just to get one reward, and you need to do that over and over and over again, is it really worth it? The answer is no. I'm sorry, it's not. It's just not worth it. So Breakout, massively disappointing. We're not going to bother breaking down all this. It's just, again, incredibly frustrating. See, it says right here, with the addition of Breakout, the standalone triple threat and clutch time modes have been retired and merged into this brand new comprehensive experience. I would replace comprehensive with either the words complicated or unrewarding, but regardless, we're here now. So, all right, Showdown. I don't have much to say about Showdown because I didn't really play a lot of Showdown this year. What I will say is, when I originally saw this, I had high hopes that it was going to feel and play like Road to the Playoffs, like, you know, in previous MyTeams, like some of the older MyTeams, which is where I really enjoyed. Like, for me, the golden era of MyTeam is like 2K15 to 2K17, maybe even 2K14 to until 2K17. I didn't really play much MyTeam after 2K17 until like 2K21 or 22. But anyways, my hopes for Showdown were immediately crushed when I saw how bad the rewards were. Skill-based matchmaking, I think, is still a massive issue. If you were someone that played a lot of Showdown and you hit tier 1, I feel like the game became very unenjoyable because everyone you played against in tier 1 were very sweaty, or they spent a lot of money, or both, which I think was annoying for a lot of people. I never made it nearly that far because I didn't play nearly enough Showdown to get that far. And the rewards for winning 60 or 120 wins of Showdown, or whatever, like those separate rewards outside of the ladders we would get for winning 60 games or 120 games in Showdown, were very bad. And they were very bad all year. I think people were very frustrated with how bad those rewards were throughout the year. But again, that's kind of my general take towards rewards in NBA 2K25 MyTeam. They were just awful. Absolutely awful. All of them were, for the most part, either RNG, and the limited rewards that were guaranteed were just a waste of time to grind for, in my opinion. Let's scroll down a little more. King of the Court. Man, King of the Court was really promising too. I think King of the Court was one of the first things they mentioned to us, I think well before we even got the courtside report that we're going through right here. I think they mentioned King of the Court in like July of 2024, right? Like late July. They mentioned that we were going to be getting this tournament every single day, or every single Saturday rather, not every single day. Every single Saturday from, 1 o'clock Eastern until 5 o'clock Eastern for me, 10 a.m. Pacific to 2 a.m. Pacific time, every single Saturday. The rewards, I mean, where's the sense right here that I want to show you guys. Um, these rewards are some of the best available in my team and are refreshed weekly, including packs. Okay, I think the King of the Court rewards were the best rewards on a weekly basis. So this sense is technically not incorrect. But the reason why these rewards were the best was because the rewards in all the other games were absolute garbage. And so, yes, it was easy to say that, oh, we're going to have the best rewards in this game mode when the rewards in all the other game modes are so bad that it makes it basically to the point where you may not want to grind the other game modes. They also did a really good job of, and they did the same thing this year, by the way, of showing what the top overall reward was. People saw this and they got very excited. 1 million VC and whatever the rewards are for that given week. The rewards for anyone that did not finish number one in King of the Court for the majority of the year were pretty terrible because, again, they were all RNG, which I think is really, really bad. And I think if you were to ask the majority of the people who played in King of the Court for a lot of the weekends, or maybe every single weekend, maybe you're one of those people. You played a ton of King of the Court this year for the entirety of the 4 hours. Let me know, did you feel like your 4 hours was time well spent playing King of the Court? Because I'll tell you right now, unless you're someone that absolutely loves playing against very sweaty opponents in Showdown, I don't see how the 4 hours could be a really enjoyable experience unless the rewards were good. And once again, I know I'm beating a dead horse here. Once again, the rewards I just don't think were good enough all year. Unfortunately, they were just not. Challenges, I don't really have much to say about challenges other than, let me see if I have any notes here on challenges. So challenges were essentially agendas from previous years. My issue with challenges, just like with everything else, you would complete these challenges or these agendas to earn rewards that ended up being, for the most part, RNG. So let's go over like a few different seasons. For example, we would get we got a lot of super packs on Tuesdays. Those were a massive issue, and I think we're going to get super packs sooner than we did this year. But instead of us getting what we had last year, for example, we had promos like the Rush promo, where on a Tuesday, 2K would drop a bunch of players that were brand new. They didn't come out on a Friday. Brand new players that weren't the best, right? We had like a Galaxy Opal, Austin Reeves, players like that, a Galaxy Opal, James Worthy. But players that we were able to grind for. They let us grind for those sets completely and earn the players by getting those agendas done. Some of those agendas were more difficult, but that's totally fine. Like, I'm totally cool with having agendas that are harder to accomplish that give you better rewards instead of what 2K gave us this year, which were for the most part pretty easy agendas or challenges to get done, but the rewards were awful because that doesn't build engagement, in my opinion. It doesn't make people want to play the game when instead of you grinding, a set of challenges or a set of agendas to earn players from a set, we're playing a bunch of easy agendas, and then all we get is one shattered prize piece towards getting one pack at the end of a season, which is incredibly frustrating, right? So, like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, we were getting shattered prize pieces for completing agendas every Tuesday. Every season has like 5 weeks of content, so each season had a pack that we could grind for on Tuesdays with 5 shattered prize pieces. You would get one shattered prize piece every week, which meant on the second to last week, you would be able to get that pack, which would be an RNG pack, and you would probably get a player that you didn't care about when the season started, and you probably still didn't care about them when the season ended, which was incredibly frustrating. We would get some 10-pack boxes. Like, there were some okay rewards. Like, 10-pack boxes are cool, but again, the pack odds are so bad, the RNG rewards are so bad that the odds of you getting something worthwhile out of those boxes, out of any of these packs, were again useless. It just made grinding the game feel really unrewarding, and it made me feel uninspired towards grinding out this game. I didn't want to spend my time, which is limited now compared to where it used to be when I was younger, playing this game and getting different agendas done when the agendas were really unrewarding, which is incredibly frustrating. All right, my team rep. We are not going to spend too much time talking about my team rep. In my notes for my team rep, I only have one bullet point. It says best way to sum it up, and I think we've been recording this for long enough for for me to curse here. We're at the 45-minute mark. My bullet point for rep reads, best way to sum it up, who the fuck cares? Rep was an absolute waste of time. It was an absolute, like, it was totally useless. The only thing with rep that was somewhat important was hitting gold rep so you could access the auction house. That's it. Maybe if you hit rep and you were low on MT and you hit like diamond rep and they gave you, what was it, 100,000 MT or 250,000 MT, like that was nice. But like outside of that, we really didn't get any other perks. Like, okay, Amethyst rep gave you free access to playing in the Saturday King of the Court tournament every weekend. Great, like that's cool. If they're gonna bring rep back, they need to make it easier to hit all the levels in rep. You know, like maybe make it more difficult to hit dark matter rep to where people are gonna get, you know, I don't even remember what they gave you for that. I don't even really care. Like, okay, you got to GOAT Jason Tatum. No one used GOAT Jason Tatum. Like, this is a player that, I mean, even the players who were dark matter rep and had access to that Jason Tatum never really used that card, because by the time they got that Jason Tatum, they had better players in the game. So, yeah, just make it easier to hit all these different rep tiers, and then, you know, maybe give us more perks, because rep is definitely a way where you can reward the people that grind this game, right? Like, okay, yes, is it cool to walk around with like like I had diamond rep all year, but I had, you know, I saw people that had pink diamond rep, that had the opal rep, and I would think, oh, okay, that's, you know, at first I thought that's kind of cool, like they grind this game out a lot, but when you see how bad the rewards are, it's like, damn, if you're Galaxy opal rep, I kind of feel sorry for you. Like, or even dark matter rep, like, okay, maybe you love the game, and I'm not here to judge, but like, just being honest, why are you playing the game that much? It's just, I just don't have words for it, man. The rep just felt like, I mean, you know, I think Breakout was a total flop, right? Rep was like forgettable, which I don't know if that's worse than being a flop, I guess, but yeah. Yeah, right here, at the end of July, those who are ranked in the MyTeam Rep Top 10 will receive the ultimate rewards related to NBA 2K26's MyTeam mode. It's like, okay, great. It's kind of like with the Saturday King of the Court tournament, where if you don't place number 1, it doesn't really matter where you rank in that tournament, because you're not going to get any good rewards. So what you're telling me is Rep was really only designed for the top 10 no-lifers, and I would love to see what these rewards are going to be, because I highly doubt the rewards are going to be worth the hours and hours, or maybe more like days and months that people played this game this year. Yeah, very, very frustrating. Okay, let's skip past that. New menus and UI, no one cares about that. So much more. The one thing I want to talk about here that was a good addition, and it wasn't really even like a MyTeam change. I mean, maybe you could consider a MyTeam change. But this coach settings now supports customizing your offensive settings and your situational on-the-fly lineups. I loved that we could set our lineups going into games. That was awesome. I love that you could set your plays and your defensive settings ahead of time. Although I think defensive settings we could do last year too, right? If I'm not mistaken. But offensive settings, so you could set your freelance ahead of time. On-the-fly lineup, so you could set who you want to have come off the bench for you ahead of time, or in certain situations. This was a great quality of life change. Like, this was probably the one change that I really enjoyed more than any other change in MyTeam this year, and I feel like the fact that I'm saying that is really, really sad. Anything else? Okay, card collecting. Not going to spend too much time talking about this, other than to say that this was, again, an absolute disaster. People play this game. There are some people who play this game literally just to collect cards. Collect cards, go for collector level, go and earn that high-end reward at the end of it, even if it's not a player that you're going to really use all that much by the end of the year, because, you know, by the time you hit whatever the final card collecting reward is, maybe the game is almost over. But it's a fun grind. It's a fun chase to go and collect these cards and stuff like that. I feel like card collecting is kind of like what Rep should have been, which is funny because we had collector level rewards in previous years, and now they just scrapped it. Now basically every 100 cards that you locked in got you 10,000 MT, and then when you got to 1,000 cards locked in, you got a random legend badge. It felt totally useless. I know people like Decentric, shout out to him, he was like the leader of the bandwagon for revamping the collector level rewards, and 2K never did anything about it, which is really crappy. That is it for the courtside report. Are there any other game modes I want to talk about here? Oh yeah, how about the game mode that I made the majority of my content on? salary cap. Salary cap, with them removing Clutch Time Online, was marketed to us in their Twitch stream. I remember, as the casual game mode. Right, they're removing Clutch Time Online, which was the ultimate casual game mode, a 5-minute game. You got in and out really quickly. I played over 600 games of Clutch Time Online in 2K24, my team, and I was very frustrated when they removed Clutch Time Online this year. But I was like, okay, maybe I'll try salary cap. It's supposed to be more casual than Showdown. Salary cap, the one good thing is at least you could earn points by losing. The main goal of salary cap, I think, for the majority of us, was grinding until you hit 2,500 points in every single round. And then, just like with the agendas that we got on Tuesdays, hitting 2,500 points in every round got you a shatter prize piece towards a random premium player pack. That was usually pretty bad for the first few seasons. It was for a hidden gems diamond, which I'm not going to really talk too much about hidden gems and the players like that. I mean, the concept originally with hidden gems was cool, but it kind of felt like a flop. I know some people complained that it felt like a flop because all the cards were technically in the game when the game launched, which meant that none of those cards really had the SIGs or the animations that people wanted. I mean, I didn't really care all that much about that. I just felt like you were getting the same few hidden gems players, the same few trash hidden gems players over and over again for rewards. I mean, like, my first two players that I got that I can remember were Brandon Jennings, who was okay at the time. I mean, a 6'1" point guard is not going to really do all that much for you. And then I got Diamond Mark Eaton, who was exciting until you looked at the fact that he had 25 speed. Pretty terrible for grinding, 60 salary cap games in each of those two seasons for those two players. 120 games of salary cap for Brandon Jennings and Mark Eaton is pretty terrible, in my opinion. But the big issue I had with salary cap is by season 3, it felt like 2K noticed that people probably weren't playing as much Showdown in Tier 1 because of how unenjoyable that experience was. And so I think 2K intentionally made the rewards and salary cap better than Showdown. It made them so much better that people who were playing Showdown, rather, I cannot English right now. People who were playing Showdown in Tier 1 ended up flocking over to salary cap to play that game mode because the rewards were better. And what that effectively did was it frustrated the people that play this game casually, because now salary cap feels like Tier 1 of Showdown. Every game is incredibly sweaty, and you're playing through this incredibly, insanely sweaty, game mode to try to hit 2,500 points, and then you're walking away with a crappy player again, like a Brandon Jennings, like a Mark Eaton. You're walking away with these awful rewards that really aren't going to make it feel like your time was well spent, in my opinion. It was incredibly frustrating seeing that happen to salary cap, and then that kind of stayed the same the entirety of, or the remainder of NBA 2K25 MyTeam. They kept the rewards in salary cap the best, at least on paper. Like, it was the easiest to get the high-end rewards in salary cap. It was easier to get that done than it was to get the rewards in Showdown. So, yeah. I mean, salary cap, still the game mode that I played the most online. It was the backbone of my team content in NBA 2K25. I am really hoping that we get Clutch Time Online back for a couple of reasons. One, that's my favorite online game mode, I think, of all time because of how fun it is. It's 5v5, it's casual, it's a 5-minute quarter game. You're in and out of the game really quickly. You can move on to the next game. It's a lot of fun, in my opinion, and I'm hoping that if we get that back, we'll see more people feel better about making gameplay videos. I had a hard time doing gameplays with new players that I got because I was limited in what games I could use them in, right? I'm not going to play or use those players in the park. I didn't really care that much about playing in the park for gameplays. And without Clutch Time Online, I couldn't bring a new player into salary cap because that new player would probably eat into the majority of my salary cap, which left me with Showdown, and I don't want to play a full Showdown game to showcase a new player that I bought. So Clutch Time Online would fix a lot of that. I really hope it's back in 2K26 MyTeam. We'll have to see about that. Okay, to wrap up this video, we have a couple of miscellaneous things I want to talk about. But I think 3 of them or 4 of them are going to be pretty big topics. I'm going to try to speed run this a little bit because this video is running much longer than I thought it was going to run. The festivals, the events. Our first one came, I believe, in season 2. The Halloween. I'm trying to think of the name of the Halloween promo. I'm blanking on it. The one that we had Wemby. Hold on, let's see. We'll pull it up real quick. 2KDB. Let's pull up the Wembanyama. Dia de los Muertos. Yes, that's right. Day of the Dead promo, where we had this Wemby card. If you guys remember, the very first card that we had as a player that we looked at as a, no, not him. This SGA card, right? Most Ballin ended up grinding for this card, which I know there was like a whole controversy with that thing. Shout out to my guy Harry, who I think he actually started this whole thing. He pressed Most Ballin about grinding for Shea and how it's not really no money spent if it's all time spent. You know, if you're no lifing the game for 2 weeks, which I think is kind of valid. You know, I mean, I'm not just saying that because I'm biased and Harry's my guy, but I do think that kind of sets a very toxic precedent if you say that, you know, getting a card like SGA from grinding the game out for like more than half of a day every single day. If you're spending more hours in a given week than a full-time job to get a card like this, you know, you look at Carlo, right? Carlo is no-lifing this game. I mean, he no-lifes the game every single day, but regardless, Carlo no-lifing the game in Season 8 to grind for these GOAT cards that are worth 60 GOAT event pieces. And then, you know, he's technically, I mean, saying no money spent, I think, for some of that. I mean, in terms of like, you know, maybe he's using his MT to get some of those cards, but there were a few of the cards earlier that season, in Season 8, that he was grinding out the game religiously to go and earn those cards. And I think he was marketing it on Twitter as, you know, first Michael Beasley or first Andre Kirilenko or whatever it was that he grinded for, no money spent. That's a toxic precedent to set because most people don't want to play the game that much to grind for players like this. And people were saying, oh, that's like what it was for spotlights in previous years. I don't know if that's true, you know? But anyways, going back to the festivals, I did not mean to go off on that tangent there. Festivals were the first time I think we got players that were the closest thing that we had to special inserts last year. SGA, for all intents and purposes, to me, was a special insert because the only way to really get this card, other than playing this game an ungodly amount of hours for a week and a half, 2 weeks, was to buy packs and get the lower tier collectibles, put those lower tier collectibles into the exchange and work your way up to get enough of the pink diamond collectibles. I believe you needed 20 to get Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. It was kind of frustrating, and it just felt like a way for 2K to easily make money. They introduced Hall of Fame boxes. I don't know if it was during the Dia de los Muertos event or if it was during the Winter MT Festival, but they introduced Hall of Fame boxes that would guarantee you the higher tier collectibles that you needed for players like SGA, like Kawhi Leonard in the Winter MT Festival, where what you had to do was spend $100 to get a bunch of players who were non-auctionable, so you couldn't even profit off of the players that you got from those packs. And then if you got duplicates, I'll just say it now, the exchange was awful this year because the exchange was so bad. If you got a duplicate, you couldn't really exchange the player that you got a duplicate of in your Hall of Fame box for anything that was worthwhile. You were basically selling your, you know, the player that you got as a dupe that you spent $100 on. You were selling him for like 5 cents on the dollar. Like the value was really, really not there at all. There were some festivals that were pretty fun. I think was it the All-Star Festival? I think the All-Star Festival. That was one that actually we saw a lot of former content creators come back for. Myself and many others were able to grind and earn the Dark Matter Magic Johnson like for free, like truly for free, without spending hours and hours and hours grinding the game. All you had to do was basically earn every single high-end reward that they gave us. Like we were able to earn, I don't know if it was Dark Matter collectibles or 100 collectibles, but whatever the highest tier was from like the Park win streak, winning 5 games in a row got you one of those collectibles. Placing top 50% got you one of those collectibles. Placing top 10 would get you a second collectible. Playing the game rewarded you for the first time all year with these festivals, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And I think that's why people love these festivals. And there were, there was a certain camp of people playing MyTeam, and I don't think that they're necessarily wrong here, who were saying that this game, when there isn't a festival, is dead. And that's kind of sad, but it was kind of true because festivals gave people a reason to grind the game. You could break down the collectibles in the earlier festivals for MT as well. So people made a lot of MT in those earlier festivals. They weren't awful in that regard, but again, I think the precedent that 2K set, and we saw it from a lot of people, myself included, was with a festival coming out, you're going to be able to spend $100 and potentially upgrade your team significantly, and do so in a way that you're not able to do by playing this game and grinding it out. Whether you play the game offline or online, if you grind the game out for like 1 to 3 months versus spending $100 on a Hall of Fame box, the odds of you improving your team from that Hall of Fame box versus the rewards that you get for grinding the game out for 3 months is insane. It's it's so crazy. Like, that's why I'm saying that 2K, my team this year, felt as pay to win as any other year, because if you spent any money on this game, you had the leg up on anybody that just grinded the game and was no money spent. In my opinion, it is what it is. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about anything else. I know people were upset about the Ralph Sampson situation where, if you like didn't grind the game a lot or spend spend money to earn more collectibles during, I forget what festival. I think I'm blanking on what the festival was that Ralph Sampson was in. Should we check really quickly? I don't even know if it'll say for Ralph. Let's see. Oh, it was the NBA Draft Festival. Yeah, so if you didn't have enough of the collectibles, because you ended up splurging early on like the Dikembe Mutombo dynamic duo, then you were kind of like SOL. You didn't have enough pieces to get Ralph. I waited until the end of the festival, which is what I would tell you guys to do all the time. There's no rush to get any of those, the exchanges done, because 2K can very easily do something like this, where they brought out a bunch of agendas for the end of the festival, because we didn't end up getting a proper next promo, right? We weren't able to use players like Cooper Flag this year, and so what 2K did as like a make right to that, as like a goodwill addition to the game, was bring in these agendas where we could grind for a ton of the higher end collectibles from the NBA Draft Festival, and then I was able to use those to get Ralph. So that was kind of frustrating. But outside of that, I mean, again, the way I would look at these festivals, it was an opportunity to make a lot of money for 2K, because spending $100 to get a Hall of Fame box was normalized. A lot of people did it. I did it a couple of times. And I think the majority of people playing this game probably did it more so than I did, which is kind of scary. Like, I think 2K potentially made like a lot more money than people realize, because of how many people spent $100 a week on this game, and if they didn't do that, spent at least $100 per festival, which is crazy. Rewards, we already talked about it a bunch. I kind of want to wrap up this video. Almost every single game mode had RNG rewards. We didn't really have many game modes where we knew what we were getting, and I think that was done intentionally, because 2K weighed the odds in packs, whether you were buying the packs from the pack market or you were playing the game and you were earning packs from, your final few rewards for a given game mode, like, Salary Cap Showdown, Triple Threat Park. We had very few option packs for higher end rewards until later on in the year, and even then, those higher end rewards were towards the tail end of the ladders, which were really frustrating. And again, with weighted odds, whatever, even if you got an option pack, and we're still seeing this now, by the way, go and watch your favorite YouTubers who are buying their way to level 40. Look at their GOAT option packs. Look at their Invincible option packs. They are filled with the players that no one wants. I mean, I've seen 2 YouTubers who bought their way to level 40, opened up the GOAT option pack, and I think both of them had GOAT Vince Carter in it, which is hilarious, because to get access to that level 40 GOAT option pack, you needed to buy the Pro Pass. And if you bought the Pro Pass, then you got Vince Carter, not for free, but you got him at level 1 for buying the Pro Pass. So you're getting another Vince Carter who's eating up one of your 3 GOAT option slots, which is hilarious. It is kind of like a scam, I guess. That's kind of like 2K in a nutshell. I love that 2K is being consistent throughout the entire year, even in Season 9, with us having less than 3 weeks to go until the new game comes out. The pack wait, I think, was as bad as it's ever been. It's not like every single pack in the past was like equal chance to get all the players, right? Like cards like Victor Wembanyama, for example, were always going to be more difficult to pull than like the short point guard that was in the same tier or from the same set, right? Like if you look at the Dia de los Muertos set, which I'm not going to go back. Well, actually, no, we can. Here, let's pull it up real quick. If we go back to Wemby, right? Come on. So here's Wemby. Here's the Dia de los Muertos set. So if you got a pink diamond shake, you probably had much higher odds of getting Kyrie Irving or Klay Thompson than Victor Wembanyama, right? I mean, I think that's why if you looked at the auction house back then in October, we probably saw many more Kyries than we did Klays, and probably many, many more Klays and Kyries than we did see pink diamond Victor Wembanyama. Like, that's always going to be a thing, and I'm not really complaining too much about that. But the way 2K did it this year is as egregious as I've ever seen it, to where even now we're seeing many less GOAT Victor Wembanyamas than we're seeing GOAT Oscars, GOAT Steph Curry's, GOAT Penny Hardaway's, GOAT Joel Embiid's. I'm blanking on what word I could use here, but basically the gap between the high-end cards and their pull rate and the low-end cards and their pull rate were dramatic within the same tier. And I think 2K, again, brilliant job by their economist, found a way to hide what their true pack odds are, because when you're opening up packs like with these brand new GOAT packs that we have in the game, all we know is that we have 25% odds in every pack to pull a GOAT player, but those 25% odds doesn't mean you have an equal chance of pulling all the GOATs. You have, okay, if you look at those 25% odds and then break those odds down, I would say 90 to 95% of the time when you get a GOAT card, which is again 25% of the time, you're going to be seeing one of those four cards that I mentioned, right? Oscar Robertson, Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, maybe Larry Bird, Penny Hardaway. You're going to see one of those cards come out probably at a significantly higher rate than you're going to see players like the GOAT Wembanyama, like the GOAT Yao Ming, like the GOAT LeBron James. Players that everybody wants. Players who, if you look at the auction house, are all going for probably close to like 800K to 2 million MT, compared to the cards like the cards that I mentioned, who are all going for like 15K MT or less, which is crazy. I don't think we've ever seen the gap be that dramatic. Like, the pack weight has never been this egregious before, in my opinion. And it really, really sucks. Like, I hate that, you know? It makes, you know, every aspect of this game worse when the pack weight is that bad. Again, it's clear to it's not clear. I really need to have my coffee before I do these long form videos. I'm getting exhausted. It's important to specify the difference between pack odds and pack weight. Pack odds have to do with the tier of card. Pack weight has to do with the specific players, right? The pack weight for Wembanyama was probably at like 0.0000001%, whereas like if you get a GOAT shake, getting one of the other players I mentioned was probably close to like 90 or 95%, and that's awful. And it's awful because 2K doesn't have to share those odds. They don't have to disclose the odds of you getting GOAT Wembanyama when you get a GOAT shake. All they have to do is say what the odds are of you getting a GOAT card. That was a massive issue all year. Again, going back to rewards, we talked about how bad they are. They're all RNG. You're getting, you know, the pack weight was an issue well before we were getting GOAT cards. Obviously, everyone was getting players that they did not want, that they already had duplicates of. Incredibly, I know I keep saying incredibly frustrating, but it's true. I look at rewards and it just triggers me because of how bad they were this year. And then again, we had no mini games, so the rewards we were getting on a per game basis were at best only cut in half, if not more than that. Packs, we already talked about packs. Weighted odds ruined packs. Weighted odds ruined RNG rewards, because a lot of those RNG rewards were packs. We didn't know what we were getting, but I basically knew, if you guys watch any of my older videos, anytime I got some RNG pack for playing salary cap or playing park or playing any game mode, I knew I was not going to get anything good, which was really, really sad. The exchange, like I said, they nerfed it. It was borderline useless compared to last year. Last year, you would have, you know, mini games. You would get, you know, free packs. If you got a duplicate, you could turn that duplicate into, you know, some, like, there was at least things to use in the exchange last year, I feel like, and the exchange last year wasn't even all that good. But this year, it was totally useless. The exchange this year kind of feels like what the token market became over the last couple of years before they removed it this year, which is totally worthless. And it makes me wonder if 2K is going to remove the exchange in 2K26 because of how bad it was. Okay, I think we're finally done, and we've hit over an hour. My God, an hour and 10 minutes of yapping. I really hope you guys enjoy this. This video took a long time. So in conclusion, what I will remember NBA 2K25 for, once again, it's the first 2K that normalized spending $100 a week for RNG unauctionable players, which ended up for a lot of people who did that a lot. If you spent $100 frequently in this game and you bought, Hall of Fame boxes frequently, you probably pulled many more duplicates than you did new cards. And those duplicate unauctionable cards all sold for, like, what? They quick sold for 3,000 MT, 2,000 MT. If you looked in the exchange, there probably weren't any good options for you. Like, okay, you want to exchange them for a legend badge, sure, but then that legend badge pack is going to be RNG as well, and so you're gonna, put, 3 of your high-end cards that you spent $300 on to get them as unauctionable from Hall of Fame boxes. You're gonna turn those into a legend badge pack, which is gonna end up being mini marksman. So yeah, good job. You spent $300 to get legend mini marksman. How crazy is that? Oh my God. But yeah, that's my one big takeaway. My second big takeaway, which is maybe even more valid for me and for many of you guys watching this video, I feel like this was the first 2K MyTeam experience where the game wasn't catered at all towards the no or low money spent players. And taking it one step further, not only was it not catered towards them, this felt like the first year where 2K was trying to isolate them and try to make it to where they really wanted you to spend money on this game, and if you weren't willing to spend money on this game, they put the game rewards, especially for offline game modes, in a place where it doesn't matter how much you love this game, you were not going to feel rewarded playing Breakout. You were not going to feel rewarded playing Domination. And even if you play the game online a little bit, you weren't going to feel as rewarded playing Salary Cap, playing Showdown, playing Park, even playing in, oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of the tournament. King of the Court. Oh my God. I'm already on 2K26, man. Playing all these game modes is what I'm trying to say would not give you the rewards that you would get compared to spending money. And while that's always been the case, spending money, your dollar never had this much value in MyTeam. And that's not because the pack odds were better. That's not because the deals they gave you in the pack market were better. It was because the rewards that you got for grinding this game, in my opinion, were as bad as they've ever been in any NBA 2K MyTeam experience that I've been a part of. And that's just unacceptable. So yeah, really frustrating, really frustrating. Again, I'm someone who, because of where MyTeam is at, I found a system that works for me. I just don't play the game as much as I used to. And for that reason, I still enjoy the game because I play the game to get my, my basketball fix, and then I just leave. And then I'll go and do something else. And then whenever I'm craving it, if I have free time, I'll come back and I'll play the game again. Making content for you guys has helped breathe a lot of life back into this game for me. But yeah, if you're someone that really struggles with finding enjoyment on this game, I'm going to say it like I say it every year. Try to find something else. It doesn't have to be a video game. Try to find anywhere else to invest your time into, because if you're someone that does not spend money on this game, 2K26 MyTeam is probably going to be another year where it's really hard to compete, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they reveal on Wednesday and Thursday of this week for the Courtside Report and the Twitch stream. I really appreciate you guys if you made it here till the end of this video. Let me know down below in the comments, would you guys enjoy seeing more of this long form content? I enjoy making it. I apologize for stuttering and stumbling over all my words. It's a combination of just me being who I am and me being very uncaffeinated at 10:40 a.m. I usually have had my coffee done, usually I'm done drinking my coffee at like 9 a.m. Now it's 10:40. I was hoping to end this video at 10 a.m. but regardless, here we are. This video is almost an hour and 15 minutes. My God. But I enjoyed making it. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to it. Once again, this is the Brothsyndi MyTeam show. I'm looking forward to bringing the Brothsyndi MyTeam show to you guys much more frequently in NBA 2K26 MyTeam, whether it's me doing a solo recording or it's me with my boy Harry, like we're going to be recording the podcast on Thursday night. I'm looking forward to bringing this to you guys much more often, just as a way for me to share my opinions on what's happening in MyTeam, what I like, what I don't like, what I'm excited about, and what I'm concerned about. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to more of this content as well. Appreciate you guys. Thank you all for rocking with me today. Let me know, I guess, in the comments down below if you made it this far. You know what? First of all, if you made it this far, put a CTO in the comments, because CTO for Clutch Time Online. I would be shocked if anyone says it, but if even one person says it, I'll be ecstatic. And then let me know what you want to see. What is in your 2K wish list for my team for 2K26? Because we're going to find out in just a couple of days. And hopefully we all get what we want in this game mode, because I'll tell you right now, I'm not optimistic. But it's fine. It's fine. Love you all. Thank you for watching this video and rocking with me for the entirety of NBA 2K25 My Team. We'll see you guys in a couple of days for the next edition of the Brothsyndi My Team show, where we will go over what was revealed to be coming out in NBA 2K26 My Team. Until next time, guys, I'm out. Have a good one. Peace.